In this episode, Ryan and I discussed a particular example of an illicit sales practice that goes on in the infinite banking world. We had fun doing it. Hope you find value, and thank you for listening. Welcome to the Banking with Life podcast. I'm your host, James Neathery.
I'm your co-host, Ryan Griggs.
And here we are on a beautiful Saturday afternoon, September the 5th. And we have something to talk about today.
We do.
Yes, we do.
We've had something to talk about for a little while now, and we attempted this last Saturday, and it has to be framed right. So, this is this is not just showing up to the office. This is not just 9 to 5 work. We're not just, mailing it in. You knew Nelson for umpteen odd years. I had 3 years with him.
16.
This is touched a lot of various aspects of my life. This is not just selling life insurance, although there's nothing wrong with that. This is also personal, and consequently, there can be moments where for people who don't have our experience or who haven't had the upbringing in this particular line of work of the sort that we've had, who maybe have a different view about how to market or how to promote their business, sometimes, every so often, what we see out there can be a little triggering. And there's nothing wrong with being triggered per se. I mean, if you watch the show, I get triggered all the time, but the way
it is a source of entertainment for many.
Well, and hopefully that's the case, but sometimes things can be critical. And this is not the first time we've done this, right? There's been other times that we've recorded something and then decided that it would maybe best to not publish it. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we're not perfect, but what we did cover, the fundamental content, the substance of it is necessary. Like there's what we're going to speak about today, and I'll go over it here in a second. No one else is talking about, and people do need to be aware of it. When you presented this to me, I'm like, whoa. This is...
Yeah, and so look, last Saturday, every Saturday that we record these episodes, we're giving up time that we could be doing other things, right? So this is a labor of love. And we are very passionate about what we do. And because of what we do, and two, let me say that, you kind of mentioned that personal is not just a job, and we've all heard that, business is business, nothing personal. No. The young men that I have the opportunity to be around and participate in their lives, no, all business is personal. I don't care what kind of business it is. If I'm going to go down and buy a new car, I'm going to have at least a personal conversation with the salesman, the salesperson, maybe the make ready, maybe the GM. I mean, it's personal. Maybe not very deep, right? It may only take place over, a 12-hour day. I don't know how long it takes to buy a new car now, but I don't want to go do that process again. Anyway.
That's so miserable.
I'm just saying all business is personal. And when you get into the financial world, it can be personal in an ugly way, right, sometimes. But especially in the life insurance industry, it's very personal. Our clients that we engage with, we create a relationship that's going to last pretty long time. It's going to affect them, their future generations, or future prodigy that they may or may not have the opportunity to meet. So, my point being is all business is personal, and this business of life insurance is very personal.
Yep.
And so when you're invested in this philosophy and this great idea that you can become your own banker and pushing forward the work of our Nelson Nash, it can be very passionate too. And I think we're both very passionate. I think it comes across. So a lot of people comment on our passion, and you're triggering regularly. So last Saturday, I just want to say that I like to clay shoot, skeet, sporting clays, traps. And I shoot with some men that are pretty high level shooters. So I'm trying to, be like them and up my game. and I gave up an invitation to do a clay shooting to be here last Saturday.
May have been part of the problem.
It was part of the problem. and then I was coming off of a week of dealing with, we get the opportunity to talk with a lot of people throughout the week. And kind of some of the background of that, there's a lot of work that's not completed, right? That you're working, I'm working, and some of this uncompleted work will address a lot of these things that come up. So some of the noise that comes up in the infinite banking world. And my whole point is, so there's a multitude of things that, I shouldn't have sat down to record an episode last Saturday, but we did, and there's a lot of good content in there that came up, but it can't be released in its recorded form because I got a little overly triggered and had fun doing it too, but
yeah, a little too much fun. We
so
practiced.
That's kind of the background.
We practiced, and so unusually we came prepared this time.
Yeah.
So let me lay out what happened. What we've got some little documents that if you look closely, don't look too closely, but it looks like a testimony that someone gave to a CIA agent or something.
It's all redacted.
Heavily redacted, right? We're not calling anybody out. None of that. So little background, and you can fill in the blanks or correct me if I'm wrong. So an individual had contacted your office, potentially wanting to had interest in the infinite banking concept.
They wanted to become their own banker.
Yep.
So they entered into our process.
Yep.
We do have a process, not a funnel.
As this person was going through, what's the guy's first name? Or
doesn't matter.
Make one up?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. As this person was going through the process, as the prospective client was going through the process, he also engaged the services of a quote-unquote fee-only advisor, right? Someone who you can pay a certain amount of money on a fee basis, right? So this is either a stated amount up front for a certain product, right? Maybe a report or something where they're going to charge you per number of hours that they work, and then they're going to bill you, right? As opposed to a commission, as opposed to receiving revenue on commission, right? Which is what a life insurance agent receives. This person says, no, I'm not going to receive a commission. I'm going to do fee only. That's what the word only means, is that they're only going to receive a fee that the customer pays them. Okay, it's important to the story. You'll see why.
Yeah.
But, okay, so they engage this fee only person. The fee only person...
Well, wait, let me back up a little bit. So as they're going through our process, they've gone through underwriting, right?
They're deep in the process.
They're deep in the process. It's really time to deliver.
Yeah.
Right, here we are. But the rating was changed, so we had to restructure the policy because of the individual's health, right? Which is rare, okay? Anyway, the gentleman says, oh, well, let me be all up front. Which you weren't up front, right? Up front was 6 weeks earlier. Let me be all up front. I hired an independent individual to check your work or something along those lines. And this wasn't told to me by them. It was told to me by Illustration Ninja. Anyway, thank you, but I don't need anyone to check my work. And if I did need someone to check my work, it wouldn't be, a quote unquote professional.
I wish I could have been there when you were told that.
A questionable, fee only persona image. Anyway, so if I'm just saying we're deep in the process, let me be up front. I've hired somebody to check your work. And from the consumer standpoint, they don't fully know all the time, always. They don't always know what they're doing, right? I mean, they know they're buying life insurance. You go online, you see all kinds of things online, some good, some not. And you can very easily, as a consumer, get caught up in the noise.
Yeah.
Right. So if you don't know, if you're not fully comfortable and confident in what you're doing, and we all want to do the best thing for ourselves and our family, there's no issue with that.
Right.
Second opinions are what they are. Go get all the second opinions that you want. And then when you want to do something correctly, let me know. And then contact us.
So listen, I think what you're saying is that we understand the idea that someone would want to get an independent perspective so that they are confident in doing what they're intending to do. Is that fair?
Very fair. And
Okay.
look, whenever you're paying large premium, I get it. I understand. When you're making large purchases, I get it. You should know what you're doing, and you should have the confidence in your decisions. No question about that. Had I known there was any reservations, we would have stopped the process right there.
Yeah.
And
or you would have answered the questions. I mean, if there was questions about, which we do, right? It's the whole point of the process is to address areas of uncertainty and explain why. I've had people tell me in my process, that it seems like, and I don't ask them, they just offer this. They say, I don't feel pressured. I don't feel like you're trying to, and I'm not, it's very much, if you know what's going on, you'll know what to do.
Very much.
My role is just to help you see what's going on, and then you'll know what to do. And so had this person been upfront, then you would have had the opportunity to elaborate on some things.
Absolutely. And I elaborate on every bit of this with our clients. I mean,
some additional background. There are members of the financial advisory community, and I'm sure let's assume angelic intentions, right? I'm sure that many of them, almost all of them, are very well intended and probably competent and want to, and maybe even do, provide legitimate value to people who pay them a fee. So, and listen, I'm a red-blooded capitalist, as libertarian as they come. There's nothing wrong with making some money. You should too. You are. We do. Everybody should. It's the fundamental cornerstone of mutual benefit. There's nothing wrong with that. So we're not criticizing the fact that this particular fee-only advisor earned a fee, right? We're just saying that that's how they presented themselves. And the issue is that there's probably a relationship behind that was not disclosed. But
probably, yeah. So the individual thought he was hiring an actuary.
Yes.
Right. That's what he said. James, I hired an actuary. I don't know if you said to check your work or not, but I hired an actuary.
That's what he did. That's
exactly what he did, which is whatever. So the actuary that charges per hour and then presents himself as a fee-only insurance advisor sends a poorly written email. And,
nice.
Mr. Griggs here is a legitimate writer, so I'll let him shred the writing.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that money was charged.
Well, and I did find out how much money was charged or was going to be
hundreds
billed.
of dollars per hour.
$395 an hour for this stuff. But here, let me back up. And I want to be clear that what goes on in the financial world goes on in the financial world. And I'm not saying that this is a terrible thing. The only reason why we're talking about this is to share with the general public that things like this goes on.
That's
things
exactly
like
right.
this happen. So the individual hires what he thinks is an independent professional to review a life insurance illustration. And the individual is a quote unquote licensed actuary. All right. Well, listen, when life insurance actuaries and health insurance actuaries buy life insurance, they call my office. Okay. An actuary is an actuary is an actuary.
Yep.
You would be surprised how many home office life insurance officers don't own life insurance. So just because the guy's an actuary, what does that mean? It means he can consult with insurance companies on how to price insurance products.
It means he receives some sort of designation from some sort of organization that uses the term actuary.
And it also means
that's all that means.
That those organizations that confer these designations on the participants generally always have a code of conduct or code of ethics involved. Every designation or affiliation even the life insurance companies have a code of conduct. Even the life insurance companies have a code of ethics. Okay, these actuarial designation entities that confer those designations have to have their own code of conduct and their own code of ethics. And so if he's an actuary, why is he giving life insurance investment advice or life insurance advice?
Right.
All right. Do you have a life insurance license to give advice? Does that actuarial designation give you the authority to give advice on life insurance, or just an opinion? And let me go on. Fee-only life insurance.
Right. So let's let's put the other layer on here. The reason we're talking about code of ethics and disclosure and all of these things is because the fee-only advisor sent a quote-unquote report, which is really a badly written email, to the particular prospective client, right? But with that report was also included another illustration from a different insurance company built by a life insurance agent. Okay, so you have
only builds life insurance one way.
Right, yeah, hold on. You have a fee-only advisor, fee-only, sending a life insurance illustration from a licensed life insurance agent to this individual. Okay, so the idea, and we can assume angelic intentions all along, and I know you're critical of that, but the notion that the life insurance agent and the fee-only advisor are just friends, and that there's no financial relationship.
There's no revenue share?
In my view, is naive, right? It wasn't as though, I can't imagine the circumstances where a fee-only advisor said, oh, well, for this client's best interest, I'm going to go look to the licensed life insurance agents and find somebody maybe who's competent in the infinite banking concept, because that's what the client wanted, and I'm going to go search for one of those people, and we're going to initiate this relationship, and I'm just going to share a life insurance illustration for the benefit of the client. I'm sorry. It doesn't happen. I'm not sorry. That doesn't happen.
Sorry, no sorry.
That's not, yeah, that's...
So what happened here?
That's not what occurred. And so the reason we're triggered, the reason I'm triggered, the reason we went off on a tangent last time is because that relationship is suspect. And if other people, like, I'm glad you mentioned it, like the reason we're doing this is that I'm sure this is happening to other people.
No, he was seriously shocked last Saturday when I showed him this. I'm like, I want to talk about this because this is what you were like beside yourself. You're like, use the word dark.
Yeah, just in talking about it, it's like, whoa, like, I don't know, maybe I was naive or whatever, but.
All right, so here's the point. So the guy goes, the prospective client, the consumer, reaches out to what he thinks is an independent third-party, fee-only professional to give an opinion or a report on, a life insurance policy that he's considering.
An illustration.
Yeah, an illustration. So, okay. But then
that's the background.
But then the guy's an actuary, right? And then he's giving advice on life insurance purchasing and structure, but then he's backdooring. He's like, here, I've looked at this and it's okay. And he contradicts himself throughout the report.
Yep, which we'll get into.
Yeah. But then he says, well, this is what you should do, or this is what I would do. This is what I would rather have you do. And then the idea that relationship between an actuary and a life insurance agent isn't remunerated in some way, the idea that there isn't a revenue share in some way is ridiculous. And the fact that he presents himself as a fee-only individual and then shares in revenue and any other source of revenue on that, there's a violation of the code of ethics. Yeah, there's a violation of really any standard
integrity. Yeah.
Integrity.
For people who aren't aware, because this was me a few years ago, in the financial business, the source of revenue is that is the center of all regulatory focus, right? Whether it's a commission, whether it's fee only, right? There are all these different licenses that are available, all revolve around the source of revenue, right? You have to have a certain license in order to sell a securitized product. You have to have a certain license in order to sell a commissioned product. That's the way the industry is structured.
And disclosure.
Yes.
Full disclosure.
And then disclose. And so that's why that's why we're emphasizing this, right? Is that this person knows that. You don't fall into the financial industry without being aware of the necessity of disclosure of the source of revenue. And so what's happening here is someone who presents themselves as a fee-only advisor is smuggling in the sale of a commission product, and unless we're in the land of angels, is participating in the financial remuneration of that sale.
No question.
And that's a problem, right?
Well, and beyond that, the illustration that he smuggled in, less than honestly, less than forthrightly, is a continuation of what is the epitome of the noise that lives in the infinite banking world.
Yes.
So the company is a great stalwart mutual life insurance company. The structure is shredded to the point that in the future the integrity is compromised. But the consumer wouldn't have any way of knowing
no
that.
idea of knowing
and
that.
he knows, the consumer knows that he doesn't know enough to be comfortable, so he's therefore reaching out
That's
to
why he
this
reached out in the first place.
independent, professional. And then you get recommendations that are just going to make it worse for him in the future, and you're paying for that.
Ugh.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and then these advisors will turn around and complain when the federal government comes in with all new sorts of regulations. It's like, you are part of the problem. I'm not going to do all that.
They don't care.
All right, so that's the background, and then we're going to go through this. So what we have in front of us are redacted documents, so that we don't call anybody out by name. That's not the point. But we've got the original email with 9 points, and then there's a follow-up with additional commentary from this individual. And so a total of, 19 points. And my gosh, I got to have lunch at some point, so I'm not going to go through all of them. But we want to touch on some of what's discussed so that when you go, if you have engaged or you're thinking of engaging an independent, quote unquote, independent fee-only person, or if someone's talking to you about life insurance in whatever respect, that you have a sense of what to be aware of, right? Had a conversation with a lady out in New York earlier this week who said, because we went through how a life insurance product works. It boggles my mind that this is not covered in every financial relationship, but we explained how base premium, PUA premium, cash value, death benefit, and dividends integrate together so that she could understand the asset. What a concept. And she's like, no one, the last person she had talked to, she's like, now I understand. Like, now I see why what's happening is happening. And we explained the problem and the other thing, and the other illustration that these people had, annually renewable term illustrated out to age 99, paying $49,000 in term premium at age 80. It's like, what? So
it makes you wonder whether this particular agent can build an illustration. That's why he does what he does.
Right.
But most agents can't. I'm not saying all, and I'm not even disparaging agents, but who wants to pay an annual renewable term to age 99? Just a fair question.
I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
So the point is that we want to review some of this language so that if you come across it, you'll know what time it is.
This guy was throwing around $10 words like he was somebody.
Got to justify that $400 hourly fee.
Didn't say anything.
So break out the dictionary, or the thesaurus.
Repeating, but we're going to repeat it.
All right, so point one, okay. I'm not blown away by this illustration. Okay, an illustration-centric criticism demonstrates that the individual does not fully understand life insurance, because an illustration is just that. It's an illustration. It is not a contract. There's nothing guaranteed about it. It may or may not bear a relation to what the actual policy language says. And if you know what you're doing with illustration software, which admittedly is rare, but those who do can make an illustration dance. Listen, right? So initial problem up front.
Yeah, but if you are holding yourself out to be a fee-only insurance advisor, and you are comparing companies, which is kind of what he
Yep.
in the appearance of comparing companies, he's really disparaging one company to the other company.
Also, legally, like there are what are they called? There are
statutes against disparaging your competitor in the life insurance industry. Okay, and there's a history of that. Go figure. But if the individual was worth his fee, he would have either said, you know what, I don't know enough about this company to be a forthright, straightforward comparison, or I am worth my fee and I do know how to compare these companies, and this is what you're not seeing on the illustration that could be done or can't be done.
Right.
None of that, which would benefit the client.
Yep.
Right. So he's looking at a fixed illustration, and then just disparaging it unmercifully.
Yep. All right. So point one, it's illustration. Second point, I note that it takes 8 years before your cash value eclipses the sum of premiums paid. That is higher than I would normally see in an optimally designed, accumulation-oriented policy. My gosh, I'm exhausted already. An optimally designed, accumulation-oriented policy. You want to talk about $5 words?
Oh, my God. Well, if you even look at that in year 8, so you're picking a point in time in the future, and I've been as guilty of that as anybody in the last 15 years in presentations all over the country, pointing out when cumulative premium equal cumulative cash value. You know, you're just picking out a point in time in the future, not without any consideration of premiums going up or down. Right, things changing in the future, which everything changes in the future. Yep. And so, yeah, that's not. I mean, you see that all the time. Accumulation. Yep. It gets worse.
Here's some background, right? So, at some point in a policy built where a majority of premium paid goes to the PUA, eventually, even with 100% base only premium, a policy built that way, at some point your cash value will exceed what's called your cost basis, will exceed how much premium you've paid in since day one.
Cumulative premium, cumulative cash value.
That's going to happen at some point.
That's right? Period.
And so there's the criticism here is that it doesn't happen soon enough.
And the other individual, not just in the big wide world of infinite banking, people, part of the noise is you look at Nelson's work in equipment finance, and he goes cash on cash, the logger from Eastern North Carolina, right? He $40,000 a year in premium, 4 years, $160,000 in. You've got like $156,000 in cash value at the end of year 4. Well, look, that illustration was built in 2000. Nelson himself modified it in 2010. Here we are in 2020, and I don't want to over-explain anything, but can we consider the fact that interest rates have come down, dividend scales have come down, the CSO tables, the Commissioner Standard Ordinary tables, how life insurance is priced has changed 3 times. So you can't control any of that, neither can I.
Right.
So today, what is very prevalent in the big wide world of the infinite bank concept are people are trying to go cash on cash in year 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right, and saying, well, this is how you do it, or this is infinite banking, or this is correct. When no, that's not correct, and there are many reasons why. And don't ask all the questions of James. I'm an infinite banking expert. Can you elaborate on what properly structured is? Okay, but here, this next one, point 4, is like, I love this.
Now we're really getting to it. Yeah.
I calculate a mortality adjusted return of 4.17 for this illustration, which is roughly the quote unquote expected after tax return if the policy is held until death. Think of it as a weighted average outcome if the dividend scale never changes and the weights are equal to the probability of dying at each age. Now, I think the guy might have taken some actuarial courses. I question the designations if they're legitimate, but can you throw any more $10 words in there?
Yeah.
Did that bring any clarity to you?
I mean, I don't want to be flippant because I want to be instructive and helpful.
Okay.
I'm just a little public confession. It's difficult because, which is roughly the expected after-tax return when the policy is held until death. In what year?
So the assumption is the guy knows when he's going to die. Right.
You have to know the end date in order to calculate that number.
And he also knows the tax bracket that the gentleman is in now and will be
in the future.
Every year into the future, right? Because he's calculating an annualized rate of return. Right. And so therefore he knows the future tax code. I think the guy can make a lot more money
predicting the freaking future.
Yeah, no, giving tax advice. Right?
Yeah.
I know people will pay $39,500 for your report if you can accurately predict that. Okay.
And all of which, let's suppose all of that's the case. It's not, but suppose it is. Disclose that. If we're picking an arbitrary death date, right, an arbitrary mortality, okay, suspect, but okay, tell me what it is. I'm assuming that you pass away at age such and such, right? Using that assumption and assuming a tax rate of, I don't know, 35%, 50%. If we're out at natural mortality, given this guy's age, it's probably 75%. So I'm assuming this tax rate, I'm assuming you live this long, and given those assumptions, this is what, the one thing he does say is that a weighted average outcome if the dividend scale never changes. Okay.
What?
So the dividends are never going to change. The tax rates are going to be something, and you're going to die at a certain age. Given all that arbitrary black box thinking, I then discovered this number.
Listen, the professional fee-only insurance advisor knows dang good and well dividends are going to change in the future. So that's less than honest on its face. All right.
Yeah. All right. We're being positive.
I'm being positive. I'm calling straightforward.
Yeah.
What I see.
I just know people are going to criticize.
Is the 4.17% return, is that on the cash value? And wait a minute, till death, if held to death. You tell me on the day of your death, what's most important, the present cash value, the death benefit? I'm just asking.
Ooh.
Okay. So, let me help this professional out. The rate of return would be much higher on
shoot to the roof,
the death benefit, because anyway, there's
all right. So that's point 3.
Several things that affect that as well.
Well, the reason that number is there, right? The reason he has to come up with a number to address the illustration is because he's then going to talk about higher numbers on other illustrations from another company, right? So the reason the numerical analysis is often done, not always, I know the guys out there who sell the calculators and all this, and I'm sure that it facilitates the conversation with the client because we don't have a full conceptual understanding of the concept. I mean, I get it, right? There's a role, maybe there's a role for it. I don't use them, but
those calculators are made for people like this. Man, just put those.
I would go to town. Can you imagine the person that we're thinking of and this guy getting together?
I'm not thinking of anybody in particular. Okay, I'm just saying that all the calculators and all of the Excel spreadsheets that people mutilate and abuse.
Right. That's what that's for.
They're made. They should. Those calculators should come with some kind of AI printable report, so you can create all these magical illustrations and you just push print, and then you could charge $3.95 for a report. And give them the Excel spreadsheet to back it up. Yeah. And you don't even have to be an actuary. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong business. I've been buying cows.
Okay, so number 4, there are numerous other policies available today that would have illustrations with mortality adjusted returns between 4.5% and 5.25%. Those extra basis points can mean a lot over the life of your policy. I mean, listen, just because I'm reading the sentence doesn't mean that it's a proper way to verbalize what he wants to say. Because the idea that a policy available would have an illustration, that formulation is policies don't have illustrations. You can illustrate a potential policy, but that policy wouldn't have that. It's not like the policy throws off the illustration, and an illustration is just that. It's all it is, right? It's assuming dividend scales never change.
Nothing. It's assuming nothing changes. That's what every illustration assumes.
It's just not a correct way to formulate that.
Even in that one point, some of these policies that he prefers are available from 4.5 to 5.25. Is that the risk-adjusted, expected rate of return is held to death? I mean, he's throwing out some numbers up here. This one's 4.17 under that description, but there are others available at 4.5 up to 5.25. I mean,
yeah.
What does that mean?
I'm sure.
It means that his is bigger than yours. It means that his policy has bigger numbers than the one.
And there we go. We're on the size thing. Because next point, such and such company is much smaller and lesser known than the companies I would normally consider for policies like this.
So the guy's an actuary and a life insurance agent. Must be. But he's fee only.
Because he doesn't
get remunerated in any other way. There's no cost revenue sharing with all of these. Yeah. So we have an emphasis on size, and we have an emphasis on how publicly recognizable the particular name is, right? Oh, yeah.
Which, if you read Becoming Your Own Banker, you will find no mention of. Nelson says you need a company that's been around for 100 years, paid a dividend for each one of those years, and is mutual. There's no advertising budget.
I get pushed back an awful lot for not mentioning life insurance companies. I had people.
James, what company do you use? Come on,
the best ones in North America to practice banking with, and those are the very ones I own as well. But I'm married to my wife. I'm not married to a life insurance company. Okay, and I have talked on and on and on about life insurance companies, but this idea that size matters, in Texas, everything is bigger in Texas. You can take that to the bank. These companies are not domiciled in Texas, okay? So if there was a mutual life insurance company domiciled in Texas, they would be the biggest. Okay. Let me just say that, and I love this because it's true, it emphasizes a point. If bigger was better, wouldn't Miss America be 300 pounds? What does bigger mean? Does it mean that the larger company has more surplus notes on its books so they can play games on their P&L? Does it mean they have more policies in force so there's a greater risk to them? Does it mean that they pay a larger dividend, or does it mean they publish a larger dividend scale that they never intend to pay? What does that mean? Does it mean they have more square footage in the home office? I'm asking.
Does it mean the salary enjoyed by the executives?
Oh, listen. Whoa. Yeah, no, because they're mutual. A lot of this information isn't public. You have to go to these certain states that make these companies disclose these certain things. And my question is this, does it mean that you're using a company that has 20 executive vice presidents that earn $10 million a year or $20 million a year each?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Somebody who wanted to, little free thought for maybe someone who's looking for something to do and professional wise, you could make a career out of wearing out these state insurance commissions with freedom of information requests.
You could.
And just publish that. I mean, I would enjoy this. Someone should do it because I don't want to, but it would be okay. So we covered size and publicly and marketing, but all that. All right. Such and such company's dividend interest rate.
It's currently.
I don't even like saying that.
I don't either.
What's a dividend interest rate? What is that? A dividend interest rate is not a thing, right? What he means is the
published dividend scale.
The current gross dividend crediting scale is what he means.
Published.
Yeah, is 5.2%.
The only company, for this company's defense, that the I got to say professional in quote unquote. I mean air quotes here.
That the individual, that
the fee only guy. He's a fee only guy. He's disparaging the only company in North America that increased their dividend this year. Now, most of you are automatically going to know who that is, but
most of them, no, they're not. That's okay.
Well, all the half of the viewers are agents.
I know. All right.
So
that is actually on the lower end of the spectrum among the handful of companies I would normally consider. All right, so Mr. Fee Only has now, in the first 6 points, twice told the individual the companies he would consider for policies like this. Right, but he's fee only, right? We're not enjoying any revenue from the sale of a commissioned product.
Nah.
All right, number 7. Now we're going back to the percentile of ranking is kind of irrelevant.
He's quoting the Comdex score. Every life insurance company has a Comdex score. The Comdex score is up to 100, 0 to 100.
You can look this up. It's online.
Yeah, and it's just an amalgamation, really, of all the other rating services. So he's squabbling between the 95th percentile, which is not accurate, to the 100th percentile. So he's just saying, well, these other companies that I regularly get paid from with revenue sharing arrangements fall in the upper percentile of the Comdex score.
Yeah. It's an attempt. All of this so far has been an attempt to frame what is eventually coming, right? Which is the illustration from the other company, and he's doing it attempting to do it numerically, and oftentimes because we're in
with
finance,
innuendos.
because we're in finance, people think that it's all about the numbers. And look, yes, money is the way we talk about it is in the form of numbers. I get that. I'm not jumping over it. Yes, I'm an economist. No, that doesn't mean I enjoy lounging back in with statistical tables all the time. So much in finance is conceptual and qualitative as opposed to quantitative. The most important part of becoming your own banker is not those illustrations, right? The important part is the conceptual, right? The infinite banking concept is an exercise in imagination, reason, logic, and prophecy. And the most important element is imagination. And imagination is qualitative, right? So what's being done here is an attempt to grapple with the complexity of life insurance in numerical terms in order to position what's ultimately coming, which is a sales recommendation. It's not presented that way, but that's what it is, right? That's why this is and that's what what so many advisors are taught to do.
That's what that is the training in the financial services industry. If you're legitimately in investments, it is all about assets under management and how you can present whatever it is you're selling to procure the assets under your management. And that is what it is. It's not good, bad, or indifferent. That is what it is. So everything about the life insurance industry has been sales, right? They have to sell policies to get paid, right? The agent, the advisor. So, and as a side note, interesting side note, whenever you do a cookie cutting design like this,
the illustration, yeah.
Yeah, this individual, they're not the only one. I mean, so whenever you just, can push a button, build policies one way, this way, no other way, and you see it out there in the big wide world, there has to be some magical relationship percentage between the base whole life policy premium and the paid up additions rider premium and all of the noise around the industry surrounded by that within the infinite banking world. My point is this, that the individuals build policies one way for everyone, no matter what. Right. This is based on a percentage, a relationship between premium allocated to the base and premium allocated to the PUA. Yeah. This percentage is correct, and this is the only way to do it. So let's just press a button, and everybody gets the same policy.
Right.
Okay. Now, if that's the case, and it is, I mean, I kind of, it's kind of like watching somebody stand on the ground and tell the truth as to watch somebody else, climb a pole and tell a lie. I mean, these kind of people would rather climb a pole and tell a lie to stand on the ground and tell the truth. And you got to scratch your head and wonder why. What are they getting out of it? Well, here's one thing that they may be getting out of it. If you don't spend any time on policy design, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying it takes a week to build a policy, but to legitimately...
It might take life insurance company staff that long.
To legitimately put together a solution for a particular client takes time.
Yeah.
And then if you have just a button that you can push, here's I'm going to put this percentage to the base, this percentage to the PUA, and I'm going to pay premium for this amount of years, and that's it. Like, you can spend all your time getting arrangements with other people that appear professional to to put into place these revenue shares, and you can spend time on all that.
So my comment on that is that there's
don't jump over that.
I know. There's no magic. There's no magic in a particular premium design, a particular policy design. If you look in Becoming Your Own Banker, the policies in equipment financing are 37.5, 62.5, right? Just divide the base premium or the PUA premium by the total. The percentages will fall out, right? The one in an even distribution of age classes is 30/70, right? Meaning they're different, right? So that in Nelson's book, the policy structures that are demonstrated in the illustration are different, right? So there's no magic in particular.
You got to wonder why he built them that way.
Maybe it depended on the individual client. All right. Next point, I want to jump to the response email. And
we're going to jump over this where he beats up the size of the company, or we already talked about that?
Okay. All right. So the next one is. So
I got to say that's not even legitimate, though, right? If he's really, if you're a professional worthy of a fee, right, then you should know enough about all the companies that you're like supposed to be commenting on, right? I mean, it's not even full disclosure. He's saying, this is this, and it's really not that. My point being, he's talking about the size of the company, and it's not even legitimate. Okay. Which that doesn't mean to imply anything else in here is legitimate, because it's not.
All right. So the next one. So I guess the client sent an illustration that was prepared in your office to this fee-only advisor, and now the fee-only advisor is commenting on the illustration.
Yeah, that's all the comments have been on that illustration, all right, so the solution that we created.
This next person said that perhaps I don't appreciate enough yet what the advantages of this company design are. Whoa, you want to talk about some truth. Perhaps that's the case. But as of right now, I would steer you he meant to put to a different, or I would steer you in a different direction that would add substantial value. All right, steering a client. I mean, my goodness, man. It's, we're not I'm not a rat, right? So we're not like sending this to a commission and like filing complaints or anything. But if I'm this guy, I would be, and I'm not, I would be nervous about putting stuff like this in writing. Being a fee-only, you tell me a fee-only person, he's steering somebody to the sale of a commissioned product, providing the illustration for it. I mean,
look, I wonder how often. This is the first time I've seen this.
Yeah.
Right, but the individual that he's in collusion with, I mean, they stalk our channel. We've taught them everything they know, but not everything we know, right? So, I mean, I don't know. As soon as if this episode hits the airways, and it's going to, I would think that this guy, he's going to know. My whole point is, I would be leery too if I were him. I can't believe he's even doing that, and I'm sure that he's not going to continue to do it. But it does make me wonder how long he's been doing it. Anyway,
yeah, he's got a style, right? There's a plan. There's a strategy. This is not. He didn't wake up one day and decide.
No.
So this is learned, or at least
this is practice.
That's the right word. This is practiced. Yeah. All right. So
he's done this.
In the next point, there's a criticism of the mutual holding company concept, and that's a whole series of episodes. But I'm a big I'm a big proponent of mutual companies for non-guaranteed cash value policies. No kidding. I mean, it's like, it's just kind of superficial. I'm just.
There's a lot of superficial words in here.
So a mutual holding company structure is a legal corporate organization in which some life insurance companies function, right? So a parent company, an umbrella company will own a stake in, not fully own, but have an ownership stake in a mutual holding company, and that mutual holding company holds the life insurance company, right? The reason for the existence of the mutual holding company is to own the mutual company, right? And then policy owners who receive their policies from the life insurance company have residual claimancy, are entitled to the dividend that's paid by the life insurance company, and have voting rights in the mutual holding company, right? right? And so I know that's a lot of terminology. I'm not trying to confuse anybody. My point is that in the mutual holding company structure, mutuality is preserved. Okay, the voting rights and contractual entitlement to the dividend are preserved. That's the point. That's what mutuality is, right? And so to say that a mutual holding company is either worse than or superior to a mutual company per se, it's almost like drawing a distinction without a difference, because the essence of mutuality is the same in both cases. And there are some reasons some might suggest that a mutual holding company structure might even be superior, because we preserve mutuality and allow the organization to acquire the necessary capital to issue new products.
Now you're getting down to the point of it. So you look at the fee-only guy shredded the size, or attempted to shred the size of the life insurance company, who happened to demutualize in the past so a mutual holding company could purchase them, maintaining the mutuality, maintaining the participatory relationship of the policyholder. So owner of the mutual holding company therefore receives their share of the experience of the insurance company through the dividend. But now the company, the parent company that created the mutual holding company to purchase the demutualized company, how much capital do they have? Mm-hmm. And how much access? So I don't want to jump over the access to capital, because in the current environment today in the financial world, it costs a lot of money to put a product on the street by any life insurance company, whether it's an annuity product or a life insurance product.
Yeah.
And therefore, you see a lot of these big four companies, they only have one product. They have one product payable to age, 120, and then you can short pay it to 100, pay it to 30 pay, 10 pay, 20 pay. They may have a single premium life policy, and then they may have a 10 pay life policy. Very few products, right? Because they don't want to spend the money to create the new products, to put them on the street and get them approved in all 50 states.
Because they can't raise the capital.
While they're paying 100 VPs $20 million a year.
Yeah, they can't pay those inflated salaries and have product variation.
So I would be interested, since he's the only guy, is shredding the size of the company and the mutual holding construct. Surely you don't want to talk about the billions of dollars that the company that created the mutual holding company to buy the little life insurance company. You don't want to talk about their P&L. Right. You don't want to talk about how much capital they have and how what their philosophy is on the infinite banking concept, and how historically they have paid the dividend, that they published that they would pay. And he alludes to this idea that a dividend may or may not be paid, and he's promoting a company that has a history of not paying the illustrated dividends and comparing it to a company who does have a history of paying dividends. So those things, funny enough, are not anywhere in this report.
Right. All right. Next point. There's a lot here.
There's a ton here.
I'm going to skip over the state licensure thing.
Oh, well, look, he gets down to the rate of return. Recall he calculated the mortality adjusted return at 4.17. In contrast, the mortality adjusted return of the illustration that he just had his buddy prepare for him was a couple of bips higher. And we're projecting this out over a 20, 30, 35 year timeline. And he's saying that all of that difference is in the non-guaranteed dividend, and it's going to make a huge difference in the value ultimately that this consumer enjoys, knowing full well that that difference in rates of return that he calculated isn't enough to change anyone's life. And then it's less than honest because he's basing it on a non-guaranteed future dividend.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase and repeat that. One company pays the illustrated dividend and the other company has a history of not paying the illustrated dividend, and he's a professional that should know that. If that's true, and it is, it should be somewhere in this unbiased report. And it's not.
Okay. I agree. Next up, there's criticism of the direct recognition and non-direct recognition element. So this happened with a client earlier this week, actually. A way that the recognition treatment that a company confers to a given policy, the way that's explained oftentimes is relative to the interest rate, the way interest is charged on policy loans, right? So in this case, the individual is, the fee-only guy is criticizing non-direct recognition treatment, which means that a company is going to pay the same dividend regardless of whether or not the policy owner has a loan balance outstanding one year to the next. He's criticizing that because there's a variable interest rate regime on policy loans. And we are conditioned to think that variable interest is always and everywhere a bad thing. And that's what's often used to criticize non-direct recognition. What I like to point out to people is that the companies that fully demutualized in the 80s, many of which are still around today, became full stock companies, offered fixed interest rates on their policy loans. And when interest rates shot up north of 20%, those companies experienced a disproportionate demand for policy loans because the policy owners could get to money at low fixed interest rates relative to what was being charged on the market. Okay, so the company, because these companies experienced a disproportionate demand for their policy loans, which put a drain on the capital available to them, right? Well, if you have a company that has a drain on capital, you now have an institution that, lo and behold, surprise, surprise, underestimated its need for capital. And when that happened, they fully demutualized. I mean, they had to go to the open market. They had to sell equity to the open market, to people other than their policy owners, right? So the consequence of that is that policy owners lost entitlement to the dividend by virtue of being a policy owner. Now, in order to receive a dividend, it wasn't enough to just be a policy owner. You had to have stock in the company. And that's, if there were only stock mutual companies, if there were only stock life insurance companies in the world, and that's all we had to deal with, dividend paying whole life, for certain reasons that we've explained elsewhere, would still be superior for the purposes of capital accumulation and deployment. So there's nothing per se wrong about it, but so long as we have mutual companies to work with, might as well use them because it's nice to be entitled to the dividend by contract by virtue of being a policy owner. Okay, so point being, there are certain, when you buy a dividend paying whole life insurance policy, you're not just becoming a customer or a client of the company. You're becoming part owner. You're not just buying the policy, you're buying the business. Okay, and so and any business owner will tell you this, it's better to have a company that's robust to future financial and economic fluctuations than it is to be the one that is vulnerable to it. And therefore, the variable loan rate regime, in other words, a company that's able to charge a loan rate that corresponds to the market rate, one might think, you would be reasonable to think, would be more robust, more durable to future economic fluctuations. That's my point. None of that's mentioned in this little point. But
he mentions fixed loan rates briefly as it is, the way it is mentioned adds no value, right? So he's just filling out a point. Maybe he's trying to get to 10 points, That's another marketing thing, right? The 10 things of this and the 10 things of that. He does go on to say, I love how he kind of wraps it up. Well, he does encourage them. It's like, well, if you've already done an exam for the one company, get all that information from that company to the other company.
Yeah, make it easy for you.
Yeah.
Almost like he's walking him through the underwriting process.
What? No. We helped him all the way through the underwriting process. And then, being all up front, the prospective client says, hey, had this independent, don't worry, they don't sell anything. It's an independent, fee-only opinion. And the consumer wound up not realizing that they had a working relationship, the fee-only guy and the sales agent, the life agent with the other company. He seemed who
is not an authorized IBC practitioner.
What?
Imagine.
Well, he was at one time. It is no longer. Whatever. I don't know where that is, but okay. He wraps it up saying, note that I have not focused my efforts so far, or I have focused my efforts so far simply on designing an optimal policy for you.
So now he's doing policy design.
Yeah, now he does policy design.
Fee-only advisor doing policy design.
Funny how this individual that prepared the illustration does the same illustration for everybody that contacts him. The same structure 100% of the time. But the fee-only guy's taking, credit for, I've only spent my time designing an optimal policy for you.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the last part, to really kick it off, he says that...
He spent all the time designing. He hasn't even gotten to the point of his need to opine on the infinite banking concept. Is that where you're going?
Yep.
Oh,
I have not yet opined on the infinite banking concept or how you will use this policy, which is the point of buying life insurance built for the infinite banking concept, to use the policy. So I'm charging you a fee to give you a report, and I'm not going to address the point of why you're doing what you're doing. And then refers to the infinite banking concept as a sales gimmick. And that refers to the velocity of money or something like that.
Sales gimmick that talks about velocity of money or something like that. What straightforward dishonesty. I mean, oh my gosh, I can't even believe you, Mr. Fee-only guy, would sign that and send that and charge for that. Shame on you.
Yeah.
But it happens, and who's surprised?
Yeah.
Who's surprised?
So let's. I think a good way to wrap this up is to talk about what's not in this particular report, and often what's not in the kind of material that's used to shark business, and that is a discussion of the banking function, of control, of capital.
Listen, I just want to get a big rate of return with a big 4.
Yeah. And so the point here really, and I hope this comes through, has not been just to have fun criticizing what's out there. That's not, that's part of it, but that is not the reason we wanted to discuss this. The reason we want to discuss this is to publicize and to make people aware that this is what goes on.
This is just one form of what goes on.
Yeah.
But this is really cloaked with a layer of a professional appearance.
Yes.
Independent, third party, fee only.
You've got to, this is where we end up. You just say, what's the answer? Right? And I love how you put it. And you haven't made your 2020 Nelson Nash Institute talk available yet, and people keep asking about it. But one thing you said in there about how in cereal boxes, you used to have little decoder glasses, the red and blue, that you could take out of the cereal box, put them over your eyes.
A red film of plastic, and then you had a printed piece of paper that had blue letters.
You read the hidden print.
Letters.
Yeah, you read the hidden print on the box. That the version of decoder glasses in the IBC world is the book Becoming Your Own Banker.
No question.
That is the answer, right? That is the solution. You could listen to us all day and you'd be wise to do it. But the key is to go to the source. Everything you do, everywhere you do it well, starts with the source, right? You go to the source. Go to the guy who came up with this idea and take what you and read that diligently. There's a book review we did to help with that.
Well, let's spend some time on that. We're saying, and rightly so, everybody that hears that would say, yes, I want to go to the source. How do they go to the source? Let's put some framework in there.
You can go to Amazon.com and get Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. It's the fifth. I'm getting there. It's the 5th edition, black cover, right? Or you could go to infinitebanking.org and order it directly from the Nelson Nash Institute.
And here's why I say Amazon. It was like earlier this year or late last year, some people out of China, violated the copyright of the book, Becoming Your Own Banker, printed a bunch of them, sold them on Amazon, but the pages were not even in order. Okay, so whenever you go to Amazon, I'm not disparaging, Uncle Bezos and the, distribution system for the, the world order. I'm not. I'm just saying that I don't know. In fact, that's what happened. Some Chinese individual, I'm assuming they're Chinese because they were from China, okay, violated the copyright, printed up a bunch of books, and the pages were not even complete or in order. So go to the Nelson Nash Institute or bankingwithlife.com. Shameless plug. But get the book, Becoming Your Own Banker.
Get the book. Yeah.
All right.
92 pages, very short, very simple, written for the layperson. It's not hyper technical. It's not cloaked in $10 words to justify a fee. And you can take what you learned there and you can apply it to what you see online and from other people, including us. We just try to do what Nelson taught. And
okay, so let me continue on that. So you should read Nelson's book, his first book, Becoming Your Own Banker. Okay, I think it's $19.99 at Nelson Nash Institute.
$29.95
or whatever it is. It's $29.95. In the description below, you can press a link and get a starter kit. With that starter kit comes, and I know it's a shameless plug, the Becoming Your Own Banker book and a Banking with Life DVD. It's legitimate, and you should watch it. Then you should purchase Nelson's second book, Building Your Warehouse of Wealth. Right, then you mentioned the 5-part book review, also in the description below. And then there's an opportunity to purchase Nelson Nash's 8-hour seminar, right? Live and in person. Used to travel the country delivering 8 to 10-hour seminars. This is recorded, I believe, in Fort Worth, Texas, right? That's available for you to watch on your own leisure. Mm-hmm. Nelson Nash himself delivering his seminar over an 8-hour period. Now that is where you go. That is the source. That is the horse's mouth. Now, you can buy every bit of that, have it delivered to your home for less than this poor guy paid.
Oh, what a good point.
For this 2-page, poorly written, and I'm not even a great writer, but I mean, my gosh, $395 for this? Jeez. What?
Nothing.
Nothing but love, right? Okay.
That's a great point. He really could have spent a fraction of the money that was spent on this report to go hear from Nelson himself.
And really learn something, learn the truth, not this sales stuff regurgitated.
Yeah, so that's really the choice, right? Pay a fee-only advisor, an inflated hourly rate, or just go learn from the guy who taught it.
Yeah, or engage with somebody you don't fully trust, right? And you're always like second guessing yourself, questioning yourself. Should I do this? Is this the right thing? Should I do this? Should I not do that? No. Spend the time, and I kind of said it in the last one, and there's a lot of good content that we're not ultimately apparently going to release from last weekend because I couldn't refrain myself. Every consumer wants to be an educated consumer, I believe. And so if that's true, and it is, let's just think through that. Don't we all want to be an educated consumer? Okay. Education comes prior to the consumption. Spend your time educating yourself. Just because we sit here, every other Saturday, giving up our free time, shooting clays or, floating around with the ladies on, beautiful lakes around Texas, and we're passionate about this, and doesn't mean it's right for you, right? Just because you see some phenomenal presentation that's mesmerizing with numbers and you can print money out of thin air, practicing the infinite banking concept, which is hogwash, it's okay for you to spend the time, effort, and energy to vet this idea yourself. And we're just saying this is how you do that. The books, the DVDs. And if you go through those, you will not have a doubt in your mind whether to practice the infinite banking concept or not. And you will not have a doubt in your mind whomever you're working with or vetting to work with is competent or not competent. Yeah. And it's really that simple.
If you know what's going on, you will know what to do. Now, and as a client put it this week, and if you know better, you'll do better.
Oh, he's been listening to the podcast. I admonish people all the time. If you know better, you should do better.
She has.
Oh, in New York.
Yep.
I love New York. Okay. Well, we didn't get to the other one. You know,
What do you mean the other one? What else?
No, the other one that gets down to the comparisons, you know, comparing the infinite banking concept to, you know, like gold.
Oh, gosh. That was
painful.
This is painful. The other, my goodness. All right. I'm happy. We did it. We maintained a degree of positivity.
I'm positive.
All right. I'm hungry.
Well, have fun, man. You can fix that.
Thanks for listening, y'all.
Have a great day. Love, peace, chicken grease. Live free and independent.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.